Hello everyone, my name is Cameron Cowan. This is the Cameron Cowan Show. Thank you so much for watching and stopping by. I really appreciate it. Now, this video is about a very common problem that we all have that we might not necessarily all understand, and that is falling for a Facebook meme or chart and them creating popular perception. If you've been hanging around Facebook very long and you follow any political page whatsoever or friends who post about politics, you might have seen this chart. Now, with this chart, it seems pretty obvious that defense spending takes up 54%, and there's kind of this huge chunk of federal spending. Now, why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because I, on my personal account, reposted this picture because I have complained for a while on how much military spending takes up of the federal budget. And one of my friends who's in the military, and military people get very defensive when you talk about defense spending, basically replied and said, no, I'm sorry, that's simply not true. I kind of quipped back and said, well, yeah, it's discretionary spending, but it's just this meme and it's whatever. And so he posted links, I posted links, arguments were had, it was not pretty, and basically he accused me of posting a meme just because it served my own news narrative and I wasn't objectively looking at the facts. And I took umbrage to this, so I deleted the whole post, and I decided to make a video about it. And so I am here to say that when it comes to what you see on Facebook, as with everything in life, you cannot believe everything you read, even though you're just kind of casually sharing something. Now, obviously, when I share something to the Cameron Cowan Show, I usually only share verified news sources where I know where the information is coming from. I very rarely share memes, charts, things like this to my actual official show page because they are oftentimes untrustworthy. I just shared it on my personal page as kind of a, hey, this is me kind of being political and kind of very casual and low level. But again, my friend is in the military and took extreme exception to this because military people get very defensive about defense spending. Because unfortunately, of defense discretionary spending, which constitutes 21%, according to politicalfact.com, of overall government spending, which is still $618 billion in this year's budget, as being passed by the House currently, it is still, that's a large chunk of change out of a budget that's only $1.1 trillion. It's still a quite large portion of spending. The difficulty, I think, why many military personnel get very defensive about these types of conversations is, one, they never see the bulk of those dollars. We spend it on, like, the F-35, which is the trillion-dollar airplane that can't start and needs an umbrella. We spend it on the robot mule that I talked about on the podcast recently that got canned because it was too loud. This is where most of this money goes to. It doesn't go to paying for equipment. It doesn't go to paying our soldiers better, who get paid worse than teachers. It doesn't go to any of those things. It goes to technology, research and development, and crap that we probably, honestly, really and truly just simply do not need. I understand when you're in the military and you are willing to put your life on the line in defense of this country, you want to know that you have every resource and the full backing of the American people when you do so. So that if you get shot by the Taliban, your life is not in vain. And then we're not just wasting people's sons, daughters, brothers, nieces, nephews, uncles, and so on because we think it was just a good idea at the time. I completely understand that. However, that should not restrict us from an objective and facts-based, if you will, discussion on how much absurd amount of money we spend on the military in this country. It's simply too much. Now, that being said, I have said all this and had this whole discussion to say, be careful what you share on Facebook. Your friends might come back to bite you. And for a second, if you really want to find out if what you're reading on Facebook is true, look for a third-party verification source. If I had really been doing my homework on this graphic, I would have actually taken the time to go collect some real honest-to-God facts. in all my talking about military defense spending, I have never done a blog post about it. I've never done a real video about it. So I've never actually taken the time to research the numbers behind the numbers behind the numbers and get it in real dollars and cents terms. And this discussion kind of forced me to address that. Admittedly, 20% doesn't sound as bad as 54%, and it certainly doesn't make for a clever pie chart on Facebook. But again, if you want to be sure of what you're reading on Facebook, or even what you're sharing, or what narrative you think you might be buying into, because news is always a narrative, rule number 1 of the Cameron Cowan Show, news is always a narrative. If you want to be sure of what narrative you're buying into when you're sharing something, you have to get on Google, you have to search, you have to read, you have to ask around, you have to visit sites like CameronCowan.co, you have to actually take the time to actually inform yourself. So don't make the same mistake I did by casually sharing something on your personal Facebook page just because it looked cool and you kind of wanted to complain about military spending. Actually take the time to inform yourself, or just simply don't share something, because like I said, it eventually will come back to bite you, I promise. So let me know what Facebook memes you've gotten caught up in, or what memes you don't think are true, or what you think are false memes in the comments below. I would appreciate knowing about them. Also catch me on Twitter at Cameron Cowan, Facebook.com/The Cameron Cowan Show, and CameronCowan.tumblr.com. And for all the news you need to know in 10 minutes or less, and why you should care about it, catch me here every Monday and Friday, every Saturday on the podcast at CameronCowan.co, and for email, you can catch me an email at CameronCowan.net. I reply to every single one. We'll talk soon now. Bye-bye.